Hey guys, this is episode 4 of Athlete Next Door. Today's video is sponsored by Finish on Empty CrossFit in Longview, FOE for short, as well as SDA, so Strong Dad Apparel. We have our special guest here, Skylen O'Brien. We've met through Strongman. We kind of quickly connected, and there's a lot more to him than just his gifts in Strongman, and just want to get into that a little bit more. So starting off with your history, I want to look at, I got my cheater sheet here, of course, and let's look at the past, your background in athletics, starting from like earliest childhood sports, evolving into college, and then your current jobs.
Perfect. So, struggled athletically at an early age. Was one of those kids that I was always a bigger kid, but really didn't have my footing underneath me. Started playing football and basketball in 3rd grade. And that was kind of my introduction. Very quickly realized that I need to be a better athlete if I wanted to continue. And in the 8th grade, I started to find the weight room. I remember doing like the PE tests and never really doing that well.
The pacer test and stuff.
The 8th grade year was like a big deal. I remember that year being able to perform push-ups, being able to run the pacer, like other kids. And that's part of that fitness thing. We all don't start in the same spot, but we can close those gaps if we work hard. So 8th grade year, I feel like I really took strides. And football's kind of always been my main sport. I've played basketball the longest, but was able to play varsity in high school, 4 years, and then got recruited to play at Western Oregon.
Okay. In which sport?
Football.
Football?
And at first, I was always an athlete student. It took me a long time to realize how important my education was. If you would have asked me in my early 20s or at 18, I'm here to play football. And by my last 2 years of college, I realized how important it was. I really started to enjoy the education side of it. Got my degree in early childhood development and exercise science.
Okay.
And those have really helped me out in my athletic journey. Like we talked about a little bit earlier, being able to talk to younger kiddos and understand them and communicate with them is something that helps you with all walks of life, as well as introducing more play into our fitness. So I think that's why we both like Strongman is the
inner toddler comes out.
Yep, you're doing things that are fun and really challenge your brain just as it does physically. Fitness for me has been something that once I found it, I immediately got addicted to it. And it's something that when I don't have my fitness, it feels like something's out of place, or it feels like something's missing. And that's something I've just carried. I've always really been motivated by learning different things. My generation was big on YouTube, Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, and learning from those guys. Granted, they're bodybuilding. I did a lot of that sort of stuff at a young age and kind of bulletproofed my ligaments and tendons. I was really blessed. I played 15 years of football, never had a major injury. And that does not happen very often. Half the battle to being an athlete is just staying healthy. So
proper knee management, I guess is a good blanket term.
And lots of reps. So it's been really fun. Fitness for me is always evolving and always something new to learn. And it's just a passion of mine. Something I love.
Cool. Yeah. So that's growing up into college. And so how after college, playing football, how did that transition to you because of course you love to train, it makes you feel good, but how did that transition to your current jobs that you work?
Perfect. So after I got done playing college football and graduated, I was very, very lost. I thought there would be some sort of payoff. I thought I was never a kid that won a championship, we'll put it that way. Was never a kid that was all league. I've always been a starter. I've always been a person that participates pretty well, but I never really felt like I got that payoff. So after my football experience, I was looking for a way to have that finished feeling to some of my fitness. And pretty quickly I realized fitness is something I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. There's never ever gonna be a finished place. There's gonna be chapters in that story, but I started distance running. So unfortunately, David Goggins during COVID was huge, and of course read the book.
It's my first listen to him about the same time frame.
I got into distance running. I was running 50 miles per week and breaking that up kind of throughout it. So 3, 4, 5, 6 mile runs.
Okay.
Mind you, I'm still 230 pounds.
How tall are you?
6'4".
Okay.
And it's one of those things where over 200 pounds and distance running really don't equal each other. After that, I got into Impact Jiu-Jitsu. They have one in Salem, Oregon, as well as in Portland. Started doing kickboxing.
You were traveling down there for that?
No, so I lived in Oregon, where I went to school, Western Oregon. It's right there in Independence, about a 10-minute drive from Salem, so really close. And that's where I got hooked up with Impact Jiu-Jitsu. I was coaching kids classes, doing some of the Friday night stuff, and I had to kind of put myself in perspective. I was like, I just played football for 15 years. I probably don't need to go get punched in the head. So I kind of had to evaluate that a little bit.
Yeah.
Took a step back from there. And then I actually connected with an old coach from FOE, David Bayer. He's with Meta Weightlifting. He's an Olympic lifter type, and that was kind of my reintroduction to programming, having a coach hands-on. I remember my wedding registry, I got 205 pounds in bumpers and a bar, and that was my home gym for a long time, just relearning basic movements and getting comfortable in the gym again since I hadn't been there in such a long time. And
kind of reinvent it from a new start.
Yeah, and I'm one of those, like,
as a married man at that point.
Yes, and definitely just trying to figure out how do I make this fitness thing something that I get to do every day, and eventually turn it into a business. And worked at a commercial gym for an extended period of time doing HIIT classes. HIIT is basically CrossFit, let's just be honest, and that's where it felt so familiar, and it was like, it was so nice to kind of be back in the thing that I started doing with my fitness journey, and did group fitness, did personal training. I taught spin class. I've taught HIIT. I've taught older people class where you're literally counting tempo.
Older people class.
I forget what that's called. I think it was literally a group of 60 and over. So it was like literally geared. Forget the name of that though. But I feel like I've done a little bit of everything in fitness. Olympic weightlifting, strongman, grip sport, ultra distance running. Example, high school, I did 2 years of wrestling and 2 years of basketball. Not many kids do
split.
that. So I like moving my body. I really enjoy not being good at something for a while and that progression of getting better.
I love that idea. I don't hear it a lot either. The people who want to do a lot more different types of sports. I had issues with that sometimes with family where they're like, why couldn't I stick? You said, why don't you stick to one sport? It's like, well, I like the fact that I know how to play several now. In high school I did baseball, golf, soccer, football. And then when I went out to Central Washington, I did ultimate frisbee. And that was by far my favorite at that point because soccer was my main sport through high school though. Like as my main one that I actually did play more than just 1 year. And so that transferred to that. I see, you try new things.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
I think it's kind of unfortunate in modern generations where kids are playing at one sport year round. I don't know what other people's opinions are. If I'm a college recruiter and I hear that you're playing 3 sports a year, to me, that is so much more important. You're going to have a little bit more injury resistance because you're changing surfaces every couple months. You're going to have better progression because it's really hard to progress when you just hammer one thing for an extended amount of time. Having that variety helps your body adapt without so much load and beating. So it's one of those things like, let your kid play as many sports as they can. Let them have an off season in the summer so that they can work out, figure out what they're weak at. They gotta have time to where they're not competing, because to me, in season, it's about maintaining conditioning and health. Yeah. It's not really a time that you're getting better. So that we do have a couple weeks in between sports. What can we do in those couple weeks to get better? and maximizing that time. We're going to be starting a kids class here in the evenings for kids that are practicing and need to help to fill in those areas, whether they want to move up the depth chart or just be better athletes. It takes a little bit more, and I think that's where mobility, plyometrics, stuff like that, they're not going to be getting beat down more for the next day's practice. They're going to be getting better range of motion, faster, and for me personally, anytime you get faster, you're getting stronger too. So,
no, I get you there. And that's, that is something I'm trying to learn with my kid too. She's a first grader. She's 6 years old. She's played a few different sports. We've had her try, and it was hard getting her to do it. And then this year she played basketball. My wife and I never were around basketball or played it. I mean, other than playing horse, with friends, and she killed it. So it was amazing. She's one of the smaller kids on her team, but 70% of the points of the entire season was just from her out of the entire team. So that was huge, big MVP moment for her. And she just is connected. She's like, Dad, basketball. Like, that's all she wants is basketball. So I'm looking at the idea of almost letting her do year-round practice with it, because that's the other half of it is, well, but how much do they love it? If it's almost better to do if it keeps them passionate about something, keep them in it as long as you can, versus the kids who are better off are the ones who are more willing to try the other sports for some rotational joint health, but then having her into weightlifting, she loves lifting with me, and that can be part of that transition as well, though, is in the off season. That is another sport that can be utilized, is strength training.
Absolutely. I think just giving a kid confidence at an early age. Watching a kid move and telling them good job. I think that's something that kids hear a lot. They take tests, they do the homework, and they hear good job if they do that stuff correctly. But I think we're lacking in our culture of good jobs. For example, something I do if I do need to discipline is the sandwich method. Something good, something bad in the middle, but then something good at the end. And with that, you're making the changes you want to see, but you're also motivating your athlete to make those changes. And for me, I feel like I had good coaches. I'm not bashing on that, but it's one of those things, like, I heard more so, hey, you're too slow, or you need to get better. Whereas you can, in that moment, you can teach that kid how to get better, and give them some words of encouragement. Instead of talking about it, give them the tools to kind of take it into their ownership. I notice kids, as soon as they have that, they'll ask the question, and they'll be intrinsically motivated to get better.
True. That kind of goes on a similar topic with one of the guys I work out with. He's trying to get a lot stronger, but he hits the ice bath after every workout. And I know exactly. And so I've been telling them, like, well, I was talking to my coach, but I'm like, why does he hit the ice bath? It's preventing his hypertrophy. It's slowing down that inflammation that's good for building muscle. I mean, he's not in a sport. He's not sports focused and worrying about needing that. And my coach's answer was good. It's more about, but it gets him in here more. If he just does it every time, and if he follows through with it, it's better than that he's in here multiple days a week doing that, than because it helps him to feel better than not. It's like, that's part of that.
That's a tale of a good coach right there. Keeping people invested into what they're doing. And it's like, I have gotten rid of coaches in the past that I'm like, hey, I want to try this. And you almost have to try sometimes to know it doesn't work. I'm currently working with Andrew Clayton, and it's been really nice because he really narrows it down. Minimal effective dosage. Doing what I like and doing just enough to get better, but not doing so much that it's taking away from my day-to-day life or taking super long to recover. I think a lot of athletes in our sport pay a lot of money for chiropractic, soft tissue work, whatever it may be. I don't do any of that. I am able to continuously work through a full range of motion, and that seems to be the health and longevity that I look for.
Sure.
Granted, I hit speed bumps. but I feel like I have the tools to work through those speed bumps too.
Yeah, you don't have to work at 100% full, ideal, science-based, perfect way of lifting if doing it to an 80% level, but gets you in the gym more consistent. That 80% level is gonna be way more, the rabbit in the hare kind of situation.
Absolutely.
Cool, so let's kind of go over that, switching into like your personal training. So I'm gonna throw in some clips in the video, actually right about now, of some of your home gym stuff. All right, so that kind of shows some of the things you've done in your home gym, but I wanna kind of break down what your current training has been in the new commercial setting with your programming, but then I guess talk about your home gym and what that did for you, where that got you, and now that transition.
Home gym, originally, like I said, 205 pounds of bumpers, because you can drop bumpers in any garage, it's not gonna damage anything, and a basic barbell. From there, I think Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist are great tools to have. You should never really pay full price for a piece of gym equipment. I kind of live by that. You should never really pay more than $1 a pound for weights. You should be paying under $1 a pound. People think they have more than what they do, and the truth is a lot of gym equipment holds its value, but at the same time, it depreciates because we're picking it up and setting it down over time. So for me, it started off barbell, bumpers, got dumbbells, and then I got squat stands, ones you could pick up and move around, but there's no safeties. I've found equipment on the side of the road. My first incline bench, Gold's Gym, found it on the side of the road, and I try really hard not to put my face on it because I didn't know where it had been. And
man,
I've really pieced it together. I would say finding those communities or gyms in your area, or people that have other home gyms within your state. I've developed a system now. Very thankful, Jeff Walling, Brian Bain, Brady. There's so many people that have helped me grow my home gym. And I think if you're a home gym goer, find people that have that same passion that you do through social media. Ask them questions. Don't demand answers or expect answers, because a lot of people are busy, but they oftentimes will get back to you on what's the better option. If you're stuck between two pieces of equipment, ask somebody that's bought them both and tried them both. Let them go through that headache. It's okay to ask for help. I think that's something that sometimes people struggle with, but that, I've never paid full price for a piece of gym equipment, and I constantly, for me, I rotate things through. So if you're not using that piece of equipment, get it out of your space. It's not needed. It's not doing you any good. Find something that you're going to use in your training. Find something that brings you, a little bit of excitement. That's part of the home gym, is evolving it. Don't ever feel like you're done, because you never are. Instead, get wall storage so that you have more floor space. Get specialty barbells, because those are really hard or really easy to hang up, and specialty barbells and racks can get you better success than a lot of machines. And then you find the exact machines you want, and you make sure they count, because they take up the most floor space.
I get you.
And I just got to a point that I felt like a hoarder. I had so much equipment. I had 2 or 3 of most things. And I said, I want to see the people in my community get stronger and have that aha moment like I do every time I lift and struggle and get better at something. So I run group fitness a little bit here. I do Strong Sundays. We're doing kids classes. And it's so cool to see people see specialty barbells. For example, a log. People have only seen that in the Rogue CrossFit Games, or maybe Strongman if they've seen that, but like
Rogue's bringing that stuff to people like this, and like they say, Strongman doesn't have really money in it, but CrossFit does.
Yes.
And if we can bring Strongman implements to CrossFit, it brings money to Strongman.
Interesting topic here. I think about this one often. Strongman will start to grow when we add more classes to it. I think Strongman is very difficult with the 3 weight class system that most federations have. It is very unobtainable for a person to feel a 40 to 50, 60 pound difference in their weight class and competing against somebody at that level.
Yeah.
It goes back to that UFC. If you watched a UFC pay-per-view, would you want to see only middleweights or only heavyweights? I think part of the excitement of UFC or fighting is you're seeing so many different body types perform at such a high level. And I love the 231, 105 kg class.
Yep.
Those are the best athletes in our sport, but they make $0. They don't
Yep.
get the same love.
Yep.
That's where we need to change a little bit of our thinking. I think, yes, pay the monsters the money they deserve.
But we can move past uniquely only relying on that.
Yes.
Because they're doing their best. And the best guys in the world are all so involved in outreach. And you see that. But yeah, bringing it to other, Strongman Corp does, I think, more weight classes than USS. No hate on USS. I love him. Willie's such a great guy to hang out around.
I love Willie. Willie's great.
But Strongman Corp does have more of that, and they have more of the bigger shows. And they would be the next one to add stuff like that, but Willie could jump ahead too.
And it's one of those things, like with more weight classes, we have more world records. We have more attention to the sport. I think, the things that do
That's
get
a
on
good point.
ESPN at the end of the day for a strength sport are a world record. I would love to see more of that on ESPN. And I think we're slowly changing. You're seeing more strength and conditioning from college level and professional level sports being appreciated, I feel like. But I think that needs to start at the middle and high school level too.
Yeah.
And it's cool, our community here, we have 2 high schools, but our community is really bought into, we need strength and conditioning to become better at athletics.
Yep.
Well, we're right in the middle between Portland and Seattle. We hear a lot about how great those athletes are. I think Longview Kelso has just as good of athletes. It just is going to take somebody to teach them how to be them best selves. And
Yeah, it's bringing in just the newer styles of lifting. When you have a lot of places still utilize coaches and teachers that have been doing it for 30 years, and the fitness realm has changed so much in that time that just going with the basic powerlifting point of view doesn't get you ahead anymore.
Yeah.
You can't just be a static monster and succeed in football anymore. I talked with DJ about that with Woodland when he runs all the lifting athletics for Woodland, and he talks about it. His whole team is way smaller than they used to be, but he knows that his team could far outbeat what the older teams used to do. They were far bigger because it's about the athleticism, the movement, through space. That doesn't. It's not just about who has the biggest bench.
Yep, absolutely.
Lineman, needs to have some pressing power, but it's not about a lineman that as long as the lineman can bench more than 2 plates for this many reps. That's not all it. You got to have leg drive, got to have hip drive.
And that's just where I wish I saw more of that. Instead of complaining about a potential situation in your community, what are you doing to help? And that goes back to, you don't have to be a guru to help kids or help people with movement.
Yeah.
It literally takes a village, and it takes that environment where people are excited to be there and trying to get better. And just facilitating that environment, kids will get better either way. And it's just frustrating. Like, you hear a lot of, kids can't do this, can't do that. Well, what are we doing to set them up for success?
Yeah.
And it goes back to my experience here at FOE. They gave me every opportunity by opening the door when the other option was to go do something that wouldn't help me with my athletic or my personal life.
Yeah.
And that's where just give kids more opportunities to express themselves in different ways. I do like the video game, the esports. I think that's cool. That's giving kids another way to express themselves and communicate. I think working out is great because it gives kids a way. For me, I struggled to express verbally how I felt as a child. Being able to run, jump, fall down, and all that, I experienced those emotions and learned how to communicate from that in a more productive way.
We used to do that stuff every day as a people until recent years. People, society has drained us of what we were born and have developed over, since humanity began.
But
so seeing that transition come back around now, where people are realizing, wait, like going back to doing the things that we've done as a people for thousands of years is better for your health. It's like, being tied down in a city just is destroying these kids mentally. and physically.
And teaching people how to have healthy relationships. For example, we got to be such a hands-off like culture that there's studies that if you get a hug every day, you're X amount of happier. So that's where, like, when I see my friends, dude, bet your butt you're getting a hug.
Dude, I always do bro hugs.
Getting hugs and getting that physical affirmation just gives you the confidence to be like, I am in a good spot, and this is where I should be. And it's cool because I think fitness is that. Obviously doing it in an appropriate manner. So like personal training for me, I'll say, hey, is it okay if I touch you?
100%.
And getting that confirmation, but also giving somebody your entire attention in that moment and trying to help them through that. It's such a cool place to be because, like I said, we're so hands-off in a day-to-day thing. We're not getting any of the physical expression out, I feel like.
Yep. Cool. I guess we got really in depth on that. So let's kind of cover circling back to like your personal training, like your training with your personal,
myself or with other people?
With yourself.
Okay.
What is your fitness goals 1 year out, 5 years out, and 10 years out?
Okay, so personal training wise, I've went through a few different coaches. I've enjoyed every single one. I'm gonna name drop a few. David Baer, Meta Weightlifting, the guy that started it. He taught me when I was in high school as well. I realized Olympic lifting was like maximal lifts, and I did pretty good at those. So that's where I started to like that side of lifting. Alex Kopp out of Idaho, another great coach, another good pro out of Strongman. Really good details there. And then recently I've been working with Andrew Clayton for over a year now. And we both have, a little bit of a mental history. For me, I'm bipolar. And he does such a good job of being descriptive with his coaching. And like we said, the minimal effective dosage and not wasting our time, effort, or energy on things that aren't going to get us where we want to be.
Yeah, quit trying to sell it to you and just get it done because you already are there.
Yep, and that's where I love being coached by people that have lived experience. I like seeing the guy that's tried a little bit of everything, and Andrew is that. He's done the bodybuilding, he's done powerlifting, and he's been successful at a very high level for a lot of them. Andrew was on track to break the actual world record, and boy, he hit it in training. It was one of those things.
Axle deadlift from like a standard height?
No, like overhead press.
Overhead, okay.
Yeah, and he was like hitting it in training. It was right after Eddie Hall had just broke the record. If Andrew would have gotten that at that, he would have been just as big as anybody else.
Sure.
But that's the cool part about our journey. We could put our entire life into this sport, get to the pinnacle and stumble. And that's cool because at least you've taken the time. You don't have regrets unless you earn them. I love that saying. But personal training wise, I train 4 days a week right now. With me coaching others, I get a lot of extra movement in, and that's where I have to be careful with adding a 5th day in. I have a tougher time recovering. I have a press day, a deadlift day, a clean and press day, then like an event squat day. I'm an overhead press guru, I would say. That's like the thing I like. I have great mobility, and that's something a lot of strongmen struggle with.
Yeah. I can't get into a front rack position.
Oh, I love it. Like, so I could give you so many
I do
tools.
like what I was watching Lucas's video the other day, the zombie squats, much more doable.
Yep.
That way I don't have to go into a Zercher position. I'd rather just run something like that. Use your shoulders for good, to kind of lock it in.
I think Lucas has said that, though. He wishes he had a little more mobility. He would have slowed that train down to kind of keep things a little looser.
Well, someone like him coming from throwing, and he seems to enjoy Olympic lifting to an extent. I can see that coming from someone like him,
and I'm mainly like plyometric and speed based. So I do a lot of bands, chains, tempo work, huge fan of tempo work, eccentric, concentric, most people don't even think about that one, and pauses. Between those, I work on a 2-week block usually. There's a little bit of variety from that week to the second week, but I'm not taking deloads. With my training system and the RPE, I'm able to keep it at a level. I'm getting better and hitting PRs on a variety of lifts, not just 1 rep maxes week to week. And that seems to be of just the gain train.
So you're saying like 1 year out, it just can doing just what you're doing right now, kind of following through. You've got a good setup now. You got the coach that connects with you. So you want to be doing what you're doing.
Now that I'm in a commercial space, I have indoor, I want to push my moving events. I'm an athletic based athlete. So I have to win the press and I have to win the moving events.
Yeah.
I am not aesthetically the strongest guy here, but skill wise, I think I can hang with,
Got long legs.
I can hang with anybody. And it goes back to this next year, hammer those moving events, slowly work on the static things with maintaining athleticism, plyometric based always to keep me young and youthful. This next year at the Ugly Sweater, I want to podium. That is the goal. This
in the
year,
pro class? Is that what you signed up? Cool.
Pro-Am and the heavyweight category. This last year I dropped down to the open and was very happy with it. It was a very competitive group.
It was.
Podium, took second, no complaints. It's just difficult, like I said, with the pro category, it's 231 or it is a heavyweight. So for me, I am 260 pounds, cutting down 30 pounds, and that's where I'm at. For me personally, I am just trying to be the strongest and best athlete that I can be. And that isn't me losing weight to win a contest, if that makes sense. It is not worth me losing the weight to lose that strength in order to win and be a pro at a lighter weight. I think my strength level right now, if I drop to 231, I bet your ass I'm going to be a pro at some point. Like, I am at a strength level for 231 that I am right there. The heavyweights, I'm about 200 pounds behind.
See, that's the interesting side too, is like people will pick a weight class based on what they mentally want, but it really just comes down to your build. You know, someone like me, I'm I'm just over 5'10". I'd say if I were to one day push hard enough to be in a 230 or 220 class, I would be able to hold enough strength in it. I think people built like me do better in that versus like being in like super heavy weights. Where like when I competed at 308 at that last comp, I was in third place, but first and second, they were big boys. You know, one of them, I just met him. He was at least 6'7". He was, I don't remember his name.
Oh yes, he's a CrossFit guy.
Yes, he is.
Wonderful. One of the strongest, tallest humans I've ever seen.
He's just like you, but about 3-4 inches taller.
If you think about that guy, if you like,
He beat me on the yoke for that reason. His legs, he just walked where I can run.
If he played in the NBA though, you got to think Kevin Durant can't bench 135. So if you had that guy guarding Kevin Durant, like, dude, he's gonna bully him.
But
out
someone
of the
like
paint.
that, if he put more weight on, I know he could get even further. He's super kind. But
Yes.
but that's just what I mean by that. Like people don't realize like their builds. If someone is 5'8" and they want to, or even 5'6", and those guys are trying to be, I'm gonna be super heavyweight pro, and that's it. It's like you can't. I mean, like even on the biggest stages, I thought the most impressive thing about Rob Kearney, he got a lot of attention for his personal reasons, but I saw is the dude is 5'10", and he was a finalist at World's Strongest Man. That's the biggest thing ever that he could have ever done, and that was huge inspirational. I think it should be noticed more by people that you don't understand. People that small don't go that far.
And
So
he
you
had
got to
the
work up to your
Wildlife
size.
record for a long time.
Yes.
And people seem to forget. It seems like he hasn't competed now and he's forgotten about. And I agree with you. He is probably
That's the most impressive
pound
thing I
for
could ever
pound
see.
one of the best athletes like in recent years.
Just the height, it was such a big thing that was so extremely impressive with Rob, with his competing.
From what I see, Lucas has really stepped into that role of being the athlete out of the group. You know, Lucas doesn't have a tremendous structural advantage, but the dude, I'm sure, can jump
He's
to
smaller
a
at 6'1".
40-inch box.
Yeah.
He can split jerk, and he's an athlete, and he knows how to use his body. Like,
And he's local, and we want him to win because
oh
of
yeah,
that.
we're big fans. That's why we're a little fanboys. But I mean,
yeah.
like we talked about earlier, like, you know, I'm inspired by our community. The people we have locally. Yeah, you have to drive a few hours to find them, but
the Pacific Northwest in strongman is obnoxiously strong. Outside of that, I see a lot of activity out of like North Carolina. Surprisingly, they have a lot of influence in strength sports, but it's something about in the Northwest. It's just insane.
Yep. And it's so like my 1 year goal is, you know, just one competition and a long off season.
Okay.
5 year goal. I've been in the sport for 4 years now. I thought by year 5 I'd be a pro. By year 10, I'm gonna be a pro.
Okay.
By year 15, I want to have a record. That could be a corporation record. For example, this year, I pressed 355 for the axle clean and press. That was probably RP 7 or 8.
Yeah.
I was planning to do a 400 because I was going to stay in the pro-am division, and those guys only pushed it to 360, surprisingly.
Yeah.
And if I would have known that there was an award for the biggest press, then I knew that guy did 360, I would have hit 365 just to do it. But nobody was pushing me in my division.
And the weight that you're at, that's what people don't understand is incredible.
260, and then pressing 360 overhead.
Pressing 100 pounds more than your body weight is, people don't understand. That's your unique. What did I say earlier? It's one of your unique gifts.
I would say that's my best skill that I can help people with is overhead lift, as well as moving events. Doing less to get more. For example, we're strongest in a stack joint position. If you don't know what a stack joint position feels like, you're making your lift harder. Another thing, if you struggle in your clean, your press is gonna not be great. So minimal effective dosage, make the clean easy so the press is easy. Fine tuning, breaking down lifts, not just making it one movement, make it 3 parts in one thing.
Yes, 100%. That's when I coach my wife, because I'm not certified coach, but I know a lot more than a lot of people who are.
For movement.
So like coaching someone like my wife, I can fully coach her to be completely stronger. I can see everything, separating, in movement, separating one piece at a time. Teaching people who are newer into it like her also of, don't tire yourself out on the first half. Like with the hammer. When people are cleaning and pressing the hammer that I built and developed, people were wearing themselves out getting it up. Like when I went to Dungeon, Saul, he's one of the co-owners up there. He got it finally to his shoulder, but he was kind of wearing himself out at it because you just kind of no dog and Saul. He's amazing. He's a great middleweight strongman for sure.
OG.
Yeah.
OG out here, man.
But then the other guy, they're laughing because when I got it up, I wiggled it up fast. They're just like, how did you do that? It's like, because you gotta, you have to mentally kind of connect that. You got to get your clean over with as fast as possible. Get it done, because then once you're done with your clean, you can have the breath and the energy to keep going.
I always think of this as like strongman is like a little bit of being a magician, bar trick. Yes, we are strong humans, but I have won contests that I am not the strongest person there, and it's because of there's so much skill involved, and as you know, every event is worth the same amount of points. And I love that you're a great deadlifter, but if you're not going to be good at grip or press, I'm going to win at the end of the day. So statically, yes, you are stronger, but skill wise, I have a mix of both that have got me to a place that I'm ahead. And I just love that skill work. Seeing people do strongman for the first time, and seeing the little nuances of it, they're like, that's why you make it look so easy. It's because there's skill. It's like football. People think football is just you tackle people. They don't understand there's play calling and position and so many fine things. And it's cool to see people like touch strongman implements for the first time. They're like, oh, okay.
And that's why I love the sport too. Is like when I first connected with it, it was like, you have to, if you are a good over a natural athlete, you're gonna love strongman even more. And it really helps. Like even when my first few comps, and they were in novice, of course, but going against dudes who, the guy who got second behind me when I finally got my first win, his deadlift, he's like, I deadlift 750. Like it was like no problem, but we tied on the deadlift event. We both got 14 reps in a minute. And because it doesn't, it helps people like that, like us, enjoy it more, because we can use our athleticism rather than static strength, because static strength is only good for static. Like it's only good for the one thing that you're doing. That's why I'm not a big fan of powerlifting. I like powerlifting training, but I don't like powerlifting as a competition myself because of that, because you're in one spot. You know, I want to, you know, if you want to show athleticism, move with it.
Can I say something controversial that's
Go
not
ahead.
too bad?
Yeah.
My biggest gripe about powerlifting, and this is an outsider perspective, is the culture. I love strongman for the very reason that we are aggressive when it is needed. You're aggressive towards an implement. In powerlifting, it seems to me that there's more aggression towards other athletes. And I love strongman for that other reason too. It's always you versus you. It's you trying your best at a competition. In powerlifting, it's you versus everybody else. And from what I've heard, strongman, you break a strap, you forget something, you forget your belt at home. I know I will have one because it's the most supportive environment. Powerlifting, it's like, you know, it's competitive.
You're getting each other's heads.
None of us are making $1 million on it at the moment. So what are we doing to make this the most enjoyable experience we can? All about being a person that you would want to be around. And helping the new person. Like,
show them how to do it right, because you don't want to. You don't in strongman, and most everyone that I've talked to, they've all agreed. You don't want to beat someone because they didn't know how to do the lift. You want to beat them because you did better at the lift. You know, like when we were doing the hammer press at the last competition, in line, waiting in queue, I was showing people how to do it properly because I want them to do it right and see how strong they actually are. You know, I don't want to be. You don't want to beat someone on an event just because they don't have a lot of experience in that lift. It's like, no. I want you to, you know, teach people the proper form and how, like, or if you went up first, oh guys, if you grab it like this one is kind of like, you know, it's kind of weighted kind of to the side. People are like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, I love that.
I love too, though, it's also a gamesmanship. So as you get higher in it, you'll notice guys start doing that in the warm-up line, and it's a tactic to get you unfocused. So they'll be like, I don't know what's wrong with that log. Collar must be loose on the
I don't know.
right
I think
side.
it's weak. I think that's weak to do.
You'd be surprised, man. Even the highest level pros, I guarantee you,
they do.
Dealing with that crap. It's like,
to an extent,
that's part of the chess match. And for me, I'll be honest, I'll tell y'all on my game. So part of me is I try to be outgoing. I want you to laugh and take this less seriously so that you're not at RPE 10 and just focused and dialed in. So that's part of my game is like, I think you've seen that. I'm typically the guy that's laughing, smiling, having a good time. And it's part of my tactic. I want you, cause like, example, Brian Bain. That guy likes to be focused. If Brian is focused, he is a very hard man to beat. If I can get Brian to laugh potentially, maybe there's like a 1% chance, but
I'm not super big on that. I'm good at transitioning. Like that last one, a good example. I had a booth, and my booth was I'm having to go smile, run my booth, and be all, oh, you know. And then the next minute, I had to I got to go do my lift, you know. And it can be a great skill to earn. Knowing how to transition that, how not to snap out. If someone is doing that, let's say, to try to snap someone out of it, I think that's good, because then in the sense that person should see it as a way to learn how to click in and click out. You know, if you're in a mood and you're getting your mojo set for a lift, if something can throw you off, that's something you need to work on, because you can't let one thing, because that kind of goes to the powerlifting thing. Oh, I misgrooved. I misgrooved and I didn't think straight. I only drank 3/4 of my water bottle instead of 80% of it. It's like, dude, chill. Like,
what
it's
I love
not
about
that.
strongman, you know, most of the time you'll hear, hey, pick it up, be stronger. Like, you're just not strong enough. And that's okay. I love that. It's such an easy, honest place to get better from. Not I misgrooved, and like you said, I'm gonna find.
I hate when people use that. I say it as a joke, and then people say it. It's like, oh man, like that's the whole strongman. The whole thing is a misgroove. Like, that's the whole sport. Exactly. He's misgrooving the whole time. All right. So, what is your favorite? I guess training style or sport specific training. So now that you work around with, like you said, you've done some wrestling stuff, you've done CrossFit, you've done Olympic weightlifting style and strongman, which is the one you compete in. Which one has been your favorite to train? Not what you're best at, but your favorite to do.
Definitely strongman.
Yeah.
It's the perfect balance of not too many reps, but still pushing to a maximal level. I love the 1 rep max aspect to it. I love going for a full 60 seconds and seeing, how many reps you can do.
Yeah.
There's so many things to focus on and get better at that if like we talked about earlier, keeping mentally engaged is half the battle. So instead of focusing on the one thing I'm not getting better at, it gives me always something new to personal best in during that week. And that's just keeping that ball rolling downhill. For me, building that core strength didn't happen until I started doing heavy carries. And that's where I love our sport too. Every athlete, in my opinion, should be carrying a sandbag in the front. They should be doing some form of farmer's carry, suitcase carry. I think that would have made me a better athlete when I was playing football.
Yes.
Some of the thoracic extension, being able to push your hips forward. I was an athlete that struggled with hinging, hips, always very quad dominant. So it's been really cool to figure out how to hammer those areas and get better. I feel like, truthfully, I'm getting better as an athlete with age, and that's a really cool place to be.
The sport's like that.
College football, I would be at the peak, which I was for some things, but overall health, strength, I'm probably higher than I was then.
Sure. Okay, yeah, I totally get that, and it's the specific training of some of the strongman stuff. So let's say when I'm such a busy person, and I had one thing I was able to finally cut out last year was being on the fire department, and just because it took a lot of time, but it was something I was doing for free, and that was hard with my schedule. But I was trying to bring over a lot of strongman training to some of them. We did a joint cadet training at not cadet, but rookie training with multiple Cowlitz County districts, and I was trying to get them to do more physical carry stuff, because I talked about how in strongman, being able to pick up a sandbag and run with it, it means you can pick up your dude that's in the fire and drag him out.
Life-saving exercise.
Yeah, so I got them to, we went and grabbed the fire hydrant and got them to do carries with the fire hydrant.
Nice.
Getting them to do push-ups with their gear on. The guys weren't doing that. I was making them do that, and that was really fun. You're seeing the real-world transition on strongman. It not just in a school setting, like these kids, it's so much better for their joint health to work strongman implements in. But outside of that, like in fire department, we actually know a lot of cops that compete. You got Alyssa up north. Her sergeant, I think his name's Steven. I think they compete. He also competes and trains with her too. We see, in law enforcement, that's perfect too. Someone's trying to come after you with a knife or something. Doing a static deadlifter isn't going to make you better at saving your own life or someone else's.
Absolutely.
So
and that's what I think a big part of my training, dynamic warm up always. You get a lot of conditioning through that. Plyometrics to keep us young and youthful. Falls are something with age that are one of the most dangerous things. Having the ability to have good foot, ankle strength, being able to absorb impact if we do stumble, having the awareness of our feet underneath us are a lot of my beliefs. And it's also training should make your day-to-day life easier. And we need to do that through movement and full range of motion. Anytime we're just getting locked into a machine and doing a short range of motion, it is not going to help us in the long run. And I see that being pushed more and more in a commercial setting. And that's when people get injured, where people have, the groups of people who do demonize deadlifting. My head pastor at my church, he was a professional bodybuilder for many years. And he talked about when he stopped that long ago, it's because he hurt his back deadlifting, but I was trying to talk to him about that. It came down to working on muscular hypertrophy doesn't help your nervous system growth, the tendon growth, and that's what will cause a lot of people to get hurt on movements like that, is because your muscles can hold up on that, but not everything else can.
and you don't know how to brace properly and it just goes off.
First thing I think of is bodybuilder dehydrated muscle tear.
Yeah.
That's like just a full sentence and it all matches.
Yeah.
Me personally, when I get injured, it's dehydration and it's a muscle strain.
Yeah.
It is very hard to structurally injure ourselves. Oftentimes our body will lock up the muscle group around the injury, and that's preventing us to get into a range of motion that we can further structurally injure. Granted, soft tissue is the most painful. It structurally, in my, like breaking my ankle hurt less than tearing my oblique.
Yeah.
And that's just like the fine line between it all. Like getting your brain to not have such a knee-jerk reaction when you have an injury. It's okay. You did stimulus. You worked out. That's why you feel this way. What did we do wrong? How can we make it better?
Yeah, and a good kind of translation off that too is like for me, my biggest issues I've ever had, I did have an MCL injury from, I was doing something with the kids and my floors are slippery and that's how I hurt it. But it's been an ongoing shoulder thing that comes back and forth, and it comes just from sleeping. I sleep on my shoulder. I wake up most nights and my arm is asleep. And so that's why I see a lack of my left arm and why I have to be careful pushing it on bench. I've been slowly working back up and I'm finally back to over 3 plates on bench because I've been slow back at it, because I'll get up past that and it'll come back, but then it's because I'm sleeping on it all the time. I wake up and I got 3 kids and they like to come sneak into our bed, and jump in, and then I wake up and I got these little toddlers next to me and I'm all pinched. And I tell my wife, I'm like, I can't have this happen. It's ruining me having the kids in our bed. So she's looking, she's like, okay, is in between. She just wants to go buy a king mattress now instead. Yep. But that rotates over to your favorite recovery method. So sleeping well is kind of what I would consider is the number one recovery for me. Perfect. So what is your favorite recovery method that you would use in strength?
Sleep. Y'all need to sleep better.
Okay, so you agree with me.
Dude, it's one of those things, like y'all are spending thousands of dollars on massage guns and everything else, and y'all sleep with the TV on, or
in the chair,
or you're a person that's potentially, narcolepsy? What is the one where you can't breathe?
I'm not good at knowing that.
Anywho, CPAP.
Everyone, yes.
If you are breathing...
Cerberus needs to come out with a CPAP.
Cerberus CPAP. One of those
Cerberus,
things.
hear us out on that.
If your partner is telling you that you are snoring, A, you're not very nice. B, do something to change that, because your sleep is the one thing that'll get you farther in life than anything else. It's also a direct cursor on how long you're gonna live. If you're not getting quality sleep, and let's talk about that. Blackout blinds. Most important thing, you don't wanna see the sun if it's whatever time of season and it's up at 5 a.m. You wanna be able to sleep that extra hour. Sound machine. For most people, we live by roads. Cars drive us crazy. They are in our subconscious, whether we realize it or not. Sound machine. Being able to darken and minimize sound as much as we can. You can get a sleep eye mask if you don't have blinds. Those are like $2. Sound machine, you can download it on your phone. Another thing would be disconnect. You should be disconnecting. I know everybody says it, but get off your social media. Stop playing video games at least an hour before you go to bed.
I use the blue light filter all day. So my phone is always on blue light filter, and I have reduced 90% of the headaches I get from that. I turn it on our TV in our living room. Not high, not all the way, because then it kind of it changes the video a little bit too much, like when you're trying to watch something. So I still have it on like at least 30 to 60%. So my kids are always watching it with the blue light filter.
That's perfect. And then just like, you gotta start being more reflective, I think. I think recovery is part of, what did I do today? How did I fuel myself? What did I do the day before to recover and put myself in a place to be successful? If you aren't doing that in that hour before bed, how are you gonna put yourself at a good spot to wake up and do it again tomorrow? Sleep is, like I said, just the most important thing. And part of that is getting our brain to understand we need to relax. We need to let go. And I think that is the struggle of a lot of people's sleep, is we are so bound and determined to have control. Release that control, set yourself up for success. And that goes back to, I think, gym, non-stim pre-workouts. If you are working out in the evening, that's fine. You do not need 300 milligrams of caffeine. You need a better night of sleep. That is going to benefit you more than the 300 milligrams of placebo caffeine that's not going to do anything for you. Get a good night's sleep. I cut my caffeine consumption at 3 p.m. Never do anything after.
Okay.
That's a good cutoff. Wrecking that night of sleep if you do that. Alcohol. If you're a person that on the weekend you're getting those extra few hours of sleep because you're not working and you're drinking alcohol before you're going to sleep, congratulations, you just ruined your recovery.
Yeah.
Your body is so worried about fighting and getting that alcohol out of your body that it's not hitting REM sleep. You're not recovering. Alcohol is huge. I do not drink alcohol for the most part. I will, have a beer, special occasions, maybe at dinner if we go somewhere fancy.
I do like my birthday, 4th of July. Those are usually the two.
Drink one. You know what I mean? We got to get to a place, if you're serious about your health and wellness and you want to get better and stronger or faster, you're cutting out one thing to take 10 steps forward. And that's how serious it is. Alcohol, soda, caffeine. It's not that you can't have them. It's the fact that when you do have them, don't have two, have one, and try to maintain it. So yeah, recovery-wise, reflection, sleep, and always trying to optimize everything. Study it, study sleep, study how to sleep better, study how to recover better. All of those things are going to give you a little bit of peace of mind that is going to give you that sleep at the end of the day, in my opinion.
Yeah, cool. No, that's perfect. That's perfect transition. So one thing I like to talk about is, we're not even halfway through. In training, do you rely more on motivation or discipline?
Oh, discipline, absolutely. The hardest part of fitness is consistency. That is the only way we see change. A lot of people think it's 2 hours in the beginning. It's not. It's 30 to 45 minutes. Shoot, even 15 minutes would get the job done. And do that 2 or 3 times a week. Do that for 2 or 3 weeks. Now you're going to increase that time a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe you add another day to it. Consistency and discipline are the key factors in anybody getting better in fitness.
So for me, like I'm super open. Like discipline, I'm always been horrible at. Part of that is just how I am, and motivation is the only thing that gets me going. Just kind of always that dopamine. Always being in a dopamine deficit is something I have to struggle with, and I'm always having to use motivation. So, I have 10 different workout playlists for 10 different types of workouts I'm looking for. Getting an energy drink going. Like for me, just a quick shout out, Jack Squatch. He's a local guy. He's out of Amboy. We're gonna be doing a lot more projects together. Super kind individual, and I like using his pre-workout because my wife and I both like the gummy bear flavor that he goes with.
It tastes great.
Yeah.
I remember.
So just a quick shout out to him. I only buy his stuff now. I'd always wanted to only buy small brand when it comes to pre-workouts, but someone who actually lives 10 minutes from me is far more important. So using stuff like his gummy, I'm drinking it right now, the gummy worm flavor, that gives me motivation to push through something when I have 10 million things on my plate at a time, all the time.
I guess what I could say is discipline for me. I do use motivation. I don't rely on it though.
Sure.
I was a big movie kid growing up, 90s action films. That's what I use as my motivation, is like the superheroes, the wrestlers. I know exactly what you're saying, those days that you struggle. You have to find what motivates you, whether it's a video, a song. It's cool. You got to balance the two out. You're absolutely right on that.
Not everyone can just be a Jocko. And I love him and I love what he does. And there's people that need that, but majority of people, that ain't gonna work.
I realized that with Goggins
right?
quickly.
Goggins and Jocko, it's like, I love you guys, but that ain't gonna work for someone like me, at least at this point of my life.
I love myself. I'm gonna say nice things to myself. I don't know about you. Sometimes I say mean things, but you gotta say nice things. You gotta be be your biggest cheerleader at the end of the day.
Yeah, so that's okay, cool. And then how do you carry that skill over into your workplace and your home life? Using motivation and discipline.
Motivation, discipline. I try to stay disciplined, and I just staying disciplined, being the same person you are in public as you are in private. I would never have a conversation I would like to think that I wouldn't have directly with that person. I try to really let people know where I stand.
As a husband, as a father.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it goes back to creating a culture that is family oriented.
Yeah.
If you see something, say something. Drugs, cheating, anything like that, I will not allow it to be within my vicinity.
Yeah.
That's my moral belief. And it's just one of those things, like I'm trying to create an environment that people can have healthy relationships and really open up to people without that fear of rejection or stuff like that. So like the discipline to stay true to who I am.
Yeah.
And I battle with the imposter syndrome as well as the grandiosity. Some days I feel like I am God's gift to earth, and other days I feel like, what am I doing here? I don't deserve to be here. And being honest with those voices and finding motivation to be a better person at the end of the day, it all balances into itself, but it works together.
Yeah, that's the right answer. So in a short way, that kind of helped explain what I was going to cover next of, if you were to explain that to someone who's new to all of this, so a student athlete who's watching this video, how they can use that motivation, discipline, skills, and I think you kind of already covered that. It's staying true to who you are.
When you don't have the discipline, find the motivation. When you have the motivation, stay disciplined.
There we go.
Is that a tagline right there?
Take the mic off and drop the mic.
That'd be my advice.
Cool. So we've kind of covered most of this already, but your involvement within the community. So within the athlete community, kind of in a bulleted points, how are you involved in it, and how have you been bettering it in your local community?
I've been here in Longview, Kelso for 3 years now since I moved home. I started out coaching at the middle school level, 7th grade football.
Okay.
Had a great time. Realized that I had some more skill and could offer a little bit more to my community. Moved up to the high school. We have 2 high schools in our community. I coached first at the one I went to, and it was great. But just needed some more mentorship, if that makes sense. I needed somebody to kind of help. It's one thing to be an athlete, but to be a coach is like a whole nother battle, I've realized. I thought I was be done with athletic coaching, group coaching at that point, and just focus on personal training, more so the gym side. And we had Mike Peck move back home. He's kind of a local legend. He was a quarterback, really good back in the early 2000s. Moved to Idaho, very successful coach within Idaho, came back this last year. He called me and said, hey, I just want you to be the best O-line coach you could be. And that to me was very exciting. And he's been a great mentor. He coaches with his dad as well. So I'm getting the dad and the son, different generations. We have an amazing coaching staff.
Cool.
They fully bought into the system of strength and conditioning is needed for injury prevention as well as just basic maintenance for kids. And we're doing that 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday.
In every sport too.
Yep. I don't care
Every
if you're
sport.
a kid that doesn't do any sports.
Even golf. I mean, those kids need to have joint health.
What I try to do is like those kids that are maybe unsure, and I have a few of them already, they come into the weight room and work out and they're like, that was really fun. That guy, he looks big and scary, but he's telling me to, say nice things to myself, and he's motivating. And he's been there. Because that's a big part of my coaching is I spend 10 minutes talking about why we're doing this and how important it is and how we're making changes to the things we want to change. And it's so cool. I think it's so important to have that side of coaching with kids, especially. I am trying to give them the psychology to be a successful human on the field and off.
Cool. And then now even adding the CrossFit gym.
Absolutely. So we're giving
whole
more
other realm for you.
And that goes back to if kids got energy. Man, I remember being that age. I could work out all day. if the choice is you sitting down and maybe potentially being a negative thoughts towards yourself, or sitting in an environment that's maybe not conducive or productive for you, coming to the gym for an extra hour is going to be something that's going to reward you not only physically, but mentally, spiritually. I find a lot of my spirituality through this.
Yeah. It's all around fantastic for you. So then, and then thirdly, within strongman. So how do you see yourself helping strongman grow?
Making it more accessible to everybody. Jeff Walling was the first one to tell, we have masters divisions, we have teen divisions, we have adaptive classes. Expressing yourself through strength is strongman's definition. And for me, it is it's just so much reward for what you do. Yes, it's fun picking up a barbell, but to pick up something pick up a car to do a car deadlift. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, but that's one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done. Because I can tell people, hey, I picked a car up.
That is the big thing. Yeah.
I think people don't realize the skill involved, so they think, oh my God, I'm going to pick a car up. Well, it's on a lever, and the farther the handles are away from the vehicle, the easier it's going to be, and you can still do it. And seeing their progress over time, I think that's a cool thing. Strongman's really the one where you don't see people get stuck in the mud very often because there's always something new to work on.
Every comp is different things.
Yep. And introducing more strongman into group sports, things like football, track, wrestling, front carries, farmers carries.
Yeah, you're seeing the Husafell, Rogues runs a lighter Husafell bag that CrossFitters are utilizing more too, because it has great grip, be able to hold it.
Love that.
That's what got me into it too. The first thing I wanted, and it's on my checklist. The only goal I have in this sport is to be strong enough to carry the Husafell for a full lap.
Yep.
Being capable of that, there's a lot you have to do to be able to be capable of that. So that being my only goal, that's I'm just training for that. To go to Iceland. I'm gonna have a group go with me by then, and I'll do that. So
that's awesome.
You'll be on my short list.
I love that. I think those are more important than setting a goal of being a pro or winning a major contest.
Specific things. It's
set yourself a goal that every day you can kind of chip away at.
Travel to Iceland, pick up the Husafell, take a full lap, and get the full sticker label. And okay, if you're strong enough to do that, you've already done a lot to get there.
Yep.
So it's a way to simplify it for myself.
Definitely. And you said that's part of the reason you got interested was that documentary. That's cool.
The Rogue full sticker documentary just really made me. That's what taught me to get involved in the sport and what to even watch it or try it. So
it's exciting.
And I'm just that's it right there. All right, cool. So then now kind of toning it down, we're gonna just do some fun questions.
Okay.
So what is your favorite training piece of equipment you've ever used? And then separately, your favorite piece of competition equipment you've ever used.
Oh, those are both great questions. Favorite piece of equipment I've ever used, and I think I'm gonna say this just because it's the newest one to me, the Mike Bartos PR platform with the varying band assistance.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
For training, that's a great, if once I get to go try it, I'm gonna probably list that too. It's a training piece that I've always wanted to try, and the growth you can get out of your deadlifts on it is fantastic. So cool.
And for me, it speeds up training time. It's less time spent in the gym and more time doing the things I like because it's an easy adjustable. Yeah,
cool. And then so your favorite comp equipment you've ever used so far?
So I would say those 10-foot deadlift bars, man, they look cool. Anytime I think anybody sees a bar to that level and sees it flex, I think it's one of the best shows in our sport. For me personally, I will always be a fan of the axle clean and press.
Okay.
The tire setup is one of my favorites.
Yes.
I'd love to do the Apollo.
It looks
at
the
some
coolest.
point. So yeah, between 10-foot deadlift bar and an axle clean and press with tires.
That's the first time I saw Lucas Hatton in media of any kind, is when he did the axle clean and press with the Hummer tires at America's Strongest for his first win. And I was like, that looks cool.
He'd smoke show too. God, I love watching that guy.
And it looks bigger when you're pressing it like that. That was, it is what it is. All right. So what's a dream piece of equipment that you would want to one day try if you could go try any piece of equipment?
Ooh, Apollo's axle, definitely. Right?
Okay.
Is Apollo, right? Is that the name of it?
Just like for me, like I mentioned, Husfeld Stone. That's my dream piece to go try.
So that would be the fixed axle that Mark Henry did in the early 2000s.
Sweet.
He was one of the first person. I think he double overhand cleaned it.
I remember that video. It was wild.
Show pressed it. Mark Henry's. So I really loved wrestling growing up. Mark Henry's a big reason I kind of got into the sport. Seeing him do some of those strength feats.
He was successful in wrestling, but man, I wish he stayed in strongman.
Me too. He probably might not have had as much longevity though.
True.
This is one of the hardest sports you can do.
But he was more gifted than 90% of the athletes who are in strongman.
Naturally.
Even on the international level.
Yeah.
On the big shows, like there's so many people that would dream to have that. But hey, he was successful in his own way.
Yep.
And like I said, longevity. Okay, cool. So then, okay, here's if you could choose one restaurant to hit all of your macros for an entire month, what would it be?
In-N-Out.
In-N-Out?
Dude, I could eat In-N-Out, I think. So I'm a cheeseburger fiend. There's
Okay.
about every day I eat a cheeseburger at some point during my day.
Okay.
My diet could get better. But In-N-Out, dude, that's like
To hit the macros that you want.
Beef talent when you're
Okay,
frying.
you can do it right.
You got fresh ingredients.
I'd probably gain too much weight eating there. For me, like I've said before the last interview, probably Chipotle, because they can really break down their nutrition, and
That's
I love
fair.
having burritos like that. I could eat a Chipotle burrito every day.
Oh, that's a good choice. For us here in Longview, Taco Time
Yes.
is actually one of the healthiest.
Their fish tacos, the best fish taco I've
And
ever
they're really
had.
healthy. They're not like greasy.
That's the only
and,
place
like,
I get fish tacos is Taco Time. I'll drive up to Kelso just to get that.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So if you could go pro in any sport other than strongman, what would it be?
It'll
Or
always
football.
break my heart that I didn't at least do a tryout in football.
Yeah?
I truthfully think put it this way, if I had a little bit of Canadian in me, I would have definitely been able to make a Canadian team. So Canada professional football, they have a percentage of their team.
That's what Dwayne Johnson did,
If
right?
you have a
Being
little bit
Canadian.
of Canada, dude, I could have made it as a Canadian professional.
Okay.
I could have made it arena indoor league. For me, I always set that lofty goal of NFL. What was cool was I competed with guys that were drafted when I played college.
Okay.
Alex Kappa out of Humboldt State, he's still in the NFL.
Yeah.
He plays for the Bengals. Might not make it after this year. He had a pretty rough one. But it's cool. I mean, I feel like I've touched that professional level at the NFL, but boy, to suit up in one of those 32
even just to suit
NFL
up.
teams or get a free T-shirt, that would have
Yeah.
been awesome. But
You kind of built like an NHL player too.
oh, dude,
I could
hockey.
see you look like a hockey player.
Shout
I'm
out
just saying,
NHL.
you look like that.
I had a buddy in college. He's from Alaska and big hockey guy, and he got me into NHL. Oh boy, I'm addicted. I love the hockey.
You're built like all those guys. They're all like you. So I could
Awkward
see you.
athletes.
I see if you could have done that.
Dude, that would have been so. And we got to fight people.
Yeah.
Just like the idea that you could physically fight somebody in a sport and then go back to playing is such a cool thing. And there's like rules to it. You're not just like poking each other in the eye.
Yeah, they wait. Yeah,
Hey,
they let it.
Stay standing, and
Yeah.
if you go down, it's over. I love that. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
Imagine if football had that.
It'd be a lot more concussions than there already is.
That's fair.
So I guess dude. We covered more than
I know. I'm
than
so
expected.
sorry. I already want to say
I feel
that.
bad for everyone who watched this whole thing, but kudos to you if you did. So right at that moment, just as we were about ready to finish up the podcast, the phone decided to die that was recording. So just want to finish it off here. Right there at that point, we were just about ready to shout out social medias. So you can find Skylen at skyhigh_strength on Instagram. He's under Skylen O'Brien on Facebook. And as well as a shout out to FOE CrossFit on Instagram and Facebook. They help sponsor the video by letting us take a tour, letting us see everything they've got, and use their office space for the rest of the podcast. So we super appreciate that. It was super fun meeting Dash. He's a great human being, and they have a lot of big plans to continue in their gym up there. Of course, the next sponsor to shout out would be strongdadapparel.com. All the men's, women's, children's clothing in the athletic side of things. Go check it out. Other than that, of course, there's me, Strong Dad Apparel on Instagram and Strong Dad Apparel on YouTube. You can see more of our audio at SDA Athletics on Spotify. So thank you guys so much for listening to the whole thing all the way through. And thank you for Skylen for getting these interviews done with us. We look forward to a lot more work together.